The Goku Black Saga in the manga is actually great, and I was really surprised on how consistent it was. It fixes most of the issues I had with the anime, like the real power scaling with Trunks. The pacing is also much better. There's no mystery on who Goku Black is because it's obviously Zamasu from the start, but now the question becomes, why did he take Goku's body? For what purpose? And that's a much more interesting premise. Goku Black or Zamasu. Even though I think he was pretty good in the anime, the manga just gives us much more context on his motives, and his dynamic with Goasu is much more fleshed out, and it's just easier to understand where he's coming from. It really feels like Zamasu or Goku Black are the main character in this arc. We spend a good amount of time explaining the characters, why they think the way they think, why they hate mortals so much, what led them to take this darker path, and it's also interesting and well explored in the manga. Maybe it's me being a Hunter x Hunter fan, but I really love chapters of just dialogue from start to finish. For me, it's the easiest way to build up a character and gives you much more context about them, and this arc has those type of chapters, especially with the Goasu and Zamasu centric one. There are some really good stuff. Goku, Vegeta and Trunks are of course important players in this arc, but I also feel like spectators for the Goku Black or Zamasu show, and I really like how each characters have different ways of seeing Zamasu, especially with how Vegeta hates Zamasu because he's cosplaying as a Saiyan, and his fight against Goku Black really dives deep on that concept and is some really good stuff. There's 4 major aspects of this arc that I want to talk about: the tone, the characters and their dynamic, the fights, and the conclusion to all of it. But enough with yapping, let's get into it. The tone this arc takes is very different compared to anything we've seen in Dragon Ball. It's much more serious and dark. Trunks is running around a destroyed city. I like the detail of him stepping into a poster that was referencing the androids. That was a nice callback. The whole opening scene is able to convey the sense of dread Trunks felt throughout that moment. During the whole introduction phase, there was no dialogue. The environment itself tells us how dire the situation is, and I think that was a really good touch. Those first 7 pages for chapter 14 does so much for the introduction. It's great. It really nails the oppressive feeling of the future timeline and just shows you how much Trunks has been struggling to survive. The closing moment for this introduction is arguably one of the best in the whole series. We finally have a face for the person causing all this chaos. Still in darkness, he approaches Trunks and delivers one of the greatest lines in all of Dragon Ball. "You are next, it ends now, Trunks." Goku Black's reveal hit so hard because the whole chapter was building up to that moment, and Trunks crying next to the fire makes it even better. You can feel his distress. He basically lost everything, but Goku Black or Zamasu is still smiling like nothing bothers him. Generational setup to an arc, easily the best in Dragon Ball. It does so much to put in place the basis for future events, and it is just exceptional. It really grabs your attention and makes you invested in this new arc. But I think I've been yapping a bit too long about the tone and the setup, so let me just move on to the characters because that's where this arc just becomes peak fiction if you ask me. The concept of a rogue Supreme Kai is just genius, and Zamasu as a character is someone that poses a lot of interesting questions. The dangers of time travel, the mortals reaching the heights of the gods, and the balance the Supreme Kai is supposed to maintain. He is introduced as one of the most skilled fighters across all the universes, and someone who already has the strong sense of justice. You can feel his disdain for mortals while he is interacting with Shin. The idea of mortals reaching the heights of the gods throws away the balance he believes in. In his eyes, anyone that challenges the status quo that was already put in place has to be erased. Chapter 17 really dives deep on Zamasu's and Goasu's dynamic and gives us some much needed context on why he thinks the way he thinks. Setting sight on a barbarian planet, they explore the lives and the cultures of the mortals present there, and Zamasu already takes notice of the violent nature. I'm not gonna lie, I low-key blame Goasu for Zamasu's fall from grace. He's not the main reason of course, but choosing a planet where all the culture is based on violence, brute force and a lack of knowledge was just the worst possible example for Zamasu. Even after using the time ring and going 1,000 years in the future, he's still the same violence, if not worse, and they were even attacked by one of them. Imagine you're Zamasu, and your master shows you one of the worst possible outcomes of what could happen if mortals aren't dealt with. Of course, your twisted sense of justice is only going to be reinforced. Zamasu wants to act, Zamasu wants change. He's tired of seeing all these mortals wasting away and causing more and more violence. The duty of a Supreme Kai is to keep balance, but in his eyes, it doesn't mean anything if he can act to change. Turning a blind eye or being passive isn't something he's willing to do. Zamasu has the mindset of a god of destruction, but the duty of a Supreme Kai, which are two different functions. That's why his inner conflict is so interesting to follow. You can see where it's coming from, but it's not his duty to act on it, and he doesn't have the power also. After watching Goku's fight against Hit, Zamasu is shown to be jealous of Goku being this powerful, and Mora having a power that surpasses the god is nothing but blasphemous to him. With Goku telling him how the Super Dragon Ball can grant any wish, it was at that moment where the idea of swapping bodies with Goku became a part of his plan. With the context on Zamasu's background out of the way, we can finally discuss why he isn't that wrong about the question he poses on how mortals are using power they're not supposed to have could become a problem, but at the same time, he still has the worst possible idea to actually bring peace with his zero mortal plan. Time traveling being a problem has been an important topic during this whole arc. Changing the past not only changes the future, but creates a whole different timeline. Even the gods or the angels are not allowed to fully move through time because the risks are too large. A character like Whis is only able to rewind the past for about 3 minutes, and he knows the dangers time travel can create. Changing the most minute detail could lead to anything. The concept is just too dangerous to mess with. So Zamasu isn't that wrong when he preaches about mortals using power they're not supposed to have, and he's a prime example of that consequence. The reason why he exists at all was because Trunks was messing with the flow of time and creating different branches. If the main timeline remained the same, none of Zamasu's extreme idea would be this bad because the status quo wouldn't be distorted. I like the fact that this arc is actually giving some consequence to time traveling because that aspect was pretty much neglected after the Cell Saga. Zamasu's whole plan was to take Goku's body from a different timeline and then go into Trunks' timeline because with the death of the Supreme Kai, Beerus also remains dead and no one in the universe is left to challenge him. His zero mortal plan comes from the belief that mortals will always seek conflict no matter what the problem is, and he isn't that wrong honestly because there are examples of it. The cycle of violence is something that will never end, and that's just the truth, but his idea is a very narrow-minded way of solving things. You can't possibly group a whole bunch of people who have nothing to do with all that violence into a twisted ideology of killing mortals. It's just too extreme of a mindset to take. He is right about time traveling being a problem in their hands. He is right about the never-ending conflict that keeps on happening. But is killing them all really the solution to all those problems? On a technicality, if everyone dead, no conflict will take place because there's no life. But is that really worth living for? He wants to rule over the universe or the timeline, but is killing people that live in it. So at that point, isn't he ruling over nothing? No life in sight, no one to worship him as the god he thinks he is. Is that really worth it? The best way I could describe Zamasu is him being a hypocrite. He hates the mortals, but is using a body of one to enact his so-called justice. He hates the gods, but loves to refer himself as the most beautiful among all of them. He hates the Saiyans, but is acting more and more like them, with his hunger for power growing even more. He hates people that mess with time travel, but is still running around different timelines causing havoc. He hates violence, but is even more vile than the most cruel of them. He became what he hated the most, but is still blinded by his ego to realize he fell from grace, and I love that aspect of his character. He is a blatant contradiction of everything he stands for, but is far too delusional to take notice, and by the time Zamasu shows up, he just turns to a psychopath. All those talk about bringing peace and justice to the universe are just excuses for him to keep killing innocent people, and it's great. Generational antagonist. He is unbelievable in every single way. Easily the best in the franchise, the most nuanced, fire as design, fire as dialogue. What more could you ask? Trunks in this arc is much more on the sideline compared to the anime, but I actually really like his role in the manga, and we get some interesting context on what happened after he defeated Cell and the androids. Trunks underwent training with the Supreme Kai, similar to Gohan back in the Buu Saga, and it's actually really cool seeing Trunks with his Z-Sword because it actually makes sense the more you think about it. I just noticed this detail, but the Trunks being a Supreme Kai apprentice is supposed to be a parallel to Zamasu also being one, and they both have healing powers, so there's definitely something there, but I digress. Even with all his training, The fight against Babidi and his minions was a life and death situation. It was only at the cost of Shin's life that Strong was able to barely survive, and he dropped one of the coldest lines in his whole arc. We've come a long way for this piece. I will not let you take it away. That's my goal right here, and with the context on Chung's character, that line hits really hard. But that was only the beginning of his struggles. During this whole fight, Zamasu was observing everything, and with the knowledge of Beerus being dead in his universe or timeline, he knew no one could stop him. Trunks really is the most tragic character in Dragon Ball. He lost everything: his father, his mother, his best friend or mentor in Gohan, and even his whole timeline by the end of this arc. No matter how many times he struggles or loses, he never gives up and still hopes for a better future. He's always fighting out of necessity, because if he doesn't, who would? It's for those many reasons why I love Trunks so much, and the DBS manga really portrayed and nailed that aspect of his character. He's been through hell, but always gets back up. The fights in this arc are actually really dope to read. Vegeta against Goku Black, Vegeta against Steel Zamasu, and also Goku against Steel Zamasu are the main ones I want to talk about. Vegeta against Goku Black is all about Zamasu acting more and more like a Saiyan as the fight goes on. Seeing him turn Super Saiyan was really dope to see, and I wish the anime did this. It shows the progression he's going through to understand Goku's body and makes the Rosal form hit even harder. I also like the fact that he got Rosal just by abusing the Zenkai boost, almost like he's cheating his way into a new form. The more damage he heals, the stronger he gets, and the panel for the Rosal transformation is easily my favorite in the whole Super manga. Just take a look. Unbelievable panel work. I can feel the beauty. The aura from the page is actually so nice. And I just found out this detail. Is the Rosal form supposed to be a mix of gold and blue? Because the color scheme actually matches it when you mix the colors. If that's the case, that's a nice touch. Vegeta was actually getting cooked for a good minute and had to find a way to overcome the Super Saiyan Blue stamina issues. Switching between God and Blue is such a genius idea. You can bypass the stamina issues with the God form and burst out insane damage with Blue, and the 1-2 punch combo was really dope to see. This fight also shows us how much respect Vegeta has for Goku. He acknowledges the hard work he goes through and the training he has to go to reach that level. So someone like Zamasu, who's just cosplaying as a Saiyan, is never going to understand what it took to attain all that power. He's never going to understand what it truly means to be a Saiyan. And that was great. I loved it. Vegeta against Steel Zamasu is low-key kinda disappointing the more I think about it. Don't get me wrong, it was really cool seeing the Golden action, using the Spirit Sword and Charles talking Zamasu. That was some really good stuff. But this fight also has no lasting impact on this arc. It just happens and we moved on. I wish Vegeta did more lasting damage on Zamasu for it to feel important and not just fan service for the sake of it. But on a more positive note, Blue Vegeta is stated to have maybe surpassed Beerus with his final Kamehameha, and I'm pretty sure that he's the only character that has this statement, so at least I'll walk away with something. Goku against Steel Zamasu is easily the best fight in this whole arc, and the concept of perfected Blue makes so much sense. Blue has always been a form with heavy stamina issues, so removing that drawback with perfect ki control over your body should definitely make you stronger. At that moment, you are fighting using your full power. Whether you like it or not, Blue has been a form with the most depth out of all of them, except the OG Super Saiyan transformation, so I cannot hate on it. The manga uses it very well and doesn't make it feel like a color swap transformation. There's different stages to it, there's different levels to it, and it's great if you ask me. It's also not that crazy that Goku is able to go toe-to-toe against Steel Zamasu, because in Toriyama's original draft, he was supposed to be as strong as 2 full power Super Saiyan Blues, so it's not that surprising. The fight itself is just so fun to read. It's really dope seeing Zamasu utilize different portals into his attacks, and the way Goku is able to counter them just shows you how much of an experienced fighter he is. Zamasu going more and more crazy as the fight goes on, while Goku has this calm attitude is something I wasn't expecting to enjoy so much. All those talk about divine justice are out of the way. It's just two Saiyans fighting to kill each other, and it's just exceptional. Chapter 25 is just an all-out brawl, one of the best action chapters in the whole franchise. It is that good. Goku is being so relentless, he's giving Zamasu no time to regenerate, but at the same time, he's losing control over Perfected Blue, so he has to finish the fight quickly. Zamasu, on the other hand, is losing his mind. He cannot understand that a mortal is able to match him in terms of power. That whole sequences of Zamasu ripping away his shirt and charging at Goku is some of the most raw scenes in the whole series, bar none. And Goku using the Hakai was just unexpected. He almost ended Zamasu with that move. If it wasn't for Mai being taken hostage at the final moments, Zamasu was cooked. The ending to this arc is divisive to say the least. You either like it or hate it. I really don't like the way it ended in the anime. It felt so anticlimactic, I couldn't take it seriously. But the manga is actually pretty good with that ending. It still has the Zeno problem, but the lead up to it makes it up for me. As both Goku Black and Zamasu are about to defuse, Trunks slices them in half and stabs Goku Black in the heart to make sure he stays dead. But because they were fused for all that time, their cell merges and he gets back up, and we get such a cold looking panel. Goku Black standing while having a sword impelling him is just too much, honestly. How much cooler can he get? Both him and Zamasu turn into the fused form, and it was game over at that point. Even after Vegeta used his Gamma Burst Flash, it was useless because now Zamasu can create clones out of different body parts. This concept of him creating clone is way better than him taking over the universe. That stuff never made sense to me. Was it because of the corruption or was it something else? It made no sense, but I digress. This is one of the rare times where Goku and Vegeta are out of option. They were cooked. They were even ready to sacrifice themselves fighting the whole army of Zamasu so that Trunks and Mai could escape. That panel of Goku and Vegeta facing off against the Zamasu army was a pretty cool callback to the Metal movie. It's damn near the same poses and everything, and I thought it was pretty cool, honestly. At this point, Zamasu was just crazy and actually unbeatable. He was even planning to go to the past to kill everybody, so I don't really mind Zeno being the ones to end it all because what else could they do? It was really and truly their only option. This arc in the manga is just unbelievable. From Zamasu being an all-time antagonist with understandable motives at first before his fall from grace, to Goku and Vegeta both having their moments, to Trunks having this support role that suits him. I'm not afraid to say that the Goku Black Arc in the manga is one of the best arcs in the whole Dragon Ball franchise. Easy top 3. It is that good. But that's all I gotta say for today. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to do the YouTube stuff. It took me so long to record these scripts. Jeez, it feels like my voice is dying. But we do it for the love of the game. But thank you for watching and stay safe.